Hello and welcome to the Trusted Podcast. Hope you're going to enjoy the new video series we're doing with the podcasts. I'm your host, Blake Johnson, so now you get to see what I look like, and it's not just some mystery voice behind the podcast. So welcome, thank you for tuning in today. Today I wanted to talk about registered agents. So why would you want, or when should you use a registered agent when you set up a business? A lot of times people go online with the Secretary of State or the Division of Corporations, depending on what your state has, and set up the business themselves. And most of the time they'll just put themselves in as the registered agent because they don't know any different. They think that's themselves, and they go on their way and they don't realize what they're committing themselves to. So the key thing with a registered agent and the way it came about is states needed a way to serve process on the business if the business gets sued. And if they didn't know where that person was or who the actual authorized person for the business was, there's no way to know who to serve that lawsuit to. And so the states came up with the idea of having a registered agent, or some states call it a statutory agent. And that is a person that is willing to accept service of process on behalf of the business. And so when if your company ever gets sued, if you are the registered agent, that means they are going to show up at your house, and then they're going to deliver that lawsuit to you. So the whole being served thing, where people are trying to track you down and hand you papers, and it can be embarrassing if it's at home, or if you do have an actual business office. Someone asks to speak with the boss, and then they hand this packet and say, "Hey, by the way, you're sued." Not necessarily the best image, especially if you have clients in there and whatnot. So a lot of times having a registered agent is actually a really good thing for that aspect, because then the registered agent is the one who they come to when they have those lawsuits. So when we act as registered agents, if there happens to be a lawsuit, the person comes in and hands it to my assistant. She knows exactly what's going on, and she just signs the paperwork, and it's no big deal, and it's just part of the services that we provide. And so that way they don't show up at your home, at your place of business, to serve you with those court papers. The other thing is the registered agent is the one responsible for making sure that your business is current and dealing with any communications from the state. Now, most of the time, there's not a whole lot. It's, all right, I got to file my renewal, get online, submit the paperwork, or if, some states who don't have it online, you put it in the mail with the check or the money order or whatever the case may be. But, that is your responsibility to make sure that you're on top of that. Whereas if you have a registered agent, it's their responsibility. They're the ones who get notified, and then they are responsible for contacting you and making sure that everything's filed on time and whatnot. So if they do file it late, it's on them. And so, the late fee would be accessible to that company, not necessarily to you, especially if you gave them notice ahead of time. So it helps mitigate some of the risk that goes along with that. Another reason why people like having a registered agent, especially in states that don't list the officers of the business, they only list the registered agent, it gives you a lot more anonymity, because the registered agent, it doesn't necessarily mean that they're the owner. And most times, many corporate registered agents have hundreds, if not thousands, of businesses they're registered agent for. So they know it's not, they're not the owner. So you can have, people don't know who actually owns your business. That it gives you some privacy that way. It helps save you some paperwork. Sometimes there's communications that come down from the state of things that have to be filed, usually tax-related stuff. Like, for instance, in Nevada a couple years ago, they instituted the commerce tax, and so we got notice for all the businesses that we were a registered agent for, and we had to forward that information on, collect a lot of it, reply back with some information that the state was requesting. And so, that's just one less thing that a business owner has to worry about. They can stay focused on working in their business and, get it up and running, keep it going, all that, without having to worry about all that extra paperwork. That's what you pay the registered agent for, is to, get that business, or to take care of all that paperwork so you don't have to. Another nice aspect of having a registered agent, especially if you have a law firm do it, is it can maybe help deter people from suing you. If the law firm is the registered agent, when the other law firm looks to see who they need to serve paperwork with, they're going to say, oh, that they've already got a lawyer. That means they're set up properly. That means that, they probably did things the right way. Maybe they're not somebody that we want to take the time to go after. It's not going to be, low-hanging fruit type of a thing. So it can help give you some legitimacy there. And then also, if other people are, contractors or banks are looking to do business with you, it doesn't necessarily mean that they'll give you the business because of you have a lawyer as a registered agent, but it's one of those things that just helps. It's like, oh, they went through a lawyer to set up their business, so they're willing to do things the right way, so we can trust them. And it just gives you a little bit more of a higher rating on the variability factor. So they feel like you've been verified, that you actually have you do things the right way. So that's just another one of those benefits that you have. If you don't have a physical address in the state that you're doing, you have to have a commercial registered agent. So you have to have a third party be that registered agent for you, because you have to have somebody who has a physical location in the state in which you're doing business that you're requesting that. So a lot of times people like to come to Nevada because we have very favorable LLC and corporation protection, asset protection statutes. And so, it makes sense to set up the business in Nevada, and then maybe they go register it in the state where they're actually, performing the business. But they don't live here. They live in Arizona or Utah or California or whatever the case may be. And so they need somebody here to have the actual address here. And that's one of the services we provide as well, is we're the registered agent. So we have the office address here, so they can actually qualify for that Nevada business license and get the protections of the Nevada business. And then they go register it as a foreign business in the state where they're doing business. If you do odd business hours, or let's say you work from home, you only work at night, your security guards company or whatever the case may be, is if you're not open during regular business hours, then you can't be a registered agent, because you need to be available to be served those lawsuit papers during normal business hours. And so if that's not, what your business is around, then that can be a problem. And so that's where another reason to have a registered agent as for your business. We already mentioned having locations in multiple states, but once again, if you have multiple offices, maybe you don't actually have an office established when you first move into a new state, having a registered agent can help you there. But it also helps coordinate, so it's not you're not relying on each location to actually do their job and get it submitted and filed on time and whatnot. You can have the registered agent do that, and they contact the corporate headquarters, and that way everything comes through that one person and keeps things in line that way. There's many different types of companies out there that can be your registered agent. There's no really requirement other than that they're registered with the state, they have a physical business in the state, and that they're open during regular business hours. Outside of that, anybody can be a registered agent. And some charge fees, some don't. Obviously, if it's family members, friends, that kind of stuff, they're not going to do that. But most commercial registered agents charge a fee, usually between $100 and $200 is the average that we're seeing. Anything more than that, you're definitely overpaying. And anything less than that, you found a good deal. But once again, you got to look at the quality of the service that you're getting. Is it literally just, we're going to be on there and you still are responsible for filing the notice your own and all those kind of things. So just some considerations to take into effect when you're setting up a business, choosing a registered agent and having a third party be that registered agent. I know fees are, costs you're trying to keep down when you're setting up a new one, because, you're already, putting in all the effort and all the money to develop your product or your service or whatever the case may be is. But for $150 a year, that may not be a bad thing to have the registered agent, to make sure it's set up correctly, that your filings are all done, that your communication with the state, it's one less thing you have to worry about. So that's my spiel on registered agent fees. Right now we charge $150 a year to be a registered agent, and if we set up your business, that fee is included in the business setup costs, and so we waive that for the first year for our clients. Anyways, thanks for listening in about registered agents, and for the Trusted Podcast, as always, please like and subscribe, and let us know how we're doing. Give us the reviews, and we'll talk to you next time.